Big matchup in the Big 12. Top 10 matchup in Lubbock. Number 7 BYU, number 8 Texas Tech. And look who's in the building. Patrick Mahomes looking at his alma mater. BYU seeking 11 straight season, a straight win dating back to last season, that is. But they would come in nearly 2 touchdown underdogs to the Red Raiders. Baron Morton here to Caleb Douglas, putting Texas Tech up 10. Great awareness to get that foot in there. Mahomes certainly likes that. BYU scored 10 or more points in every half this season, but that was not the case here. Kept off the board due to some miscues, a missed field goal. Cougars held scoreless in the first half for the first time in 2 years. And once again, Patrick Mahomes loving it on his bye week. Can the Cougars get the offensive going in the second half? Mid-third, down 16-0 now. Bear Bachmeier under pressure, looking for his guy Roberts, but picked off by Jacob Rodriguez. Taken down to the BYU 22. Rodriguez's 3rd interception of the season. It would lead to a field goal. There's Wifey. Early 4th, Texas Tech driving. Morton looking for Cameron Dickey. Working his way down the sideline. Pushed out of bounds at the BYU 30. A few plays later, handing it off to Dickey. And it's 29-7 is your final. First win versus an AP top team for Texas Tech since 2012. Best 10-game start at 9-1 since 2008. And for BYU, the loss snaps a 10-game win streak. Dickey, by the way, his 2nd career 100-yard game. And the under never in doubt in this one. Cashes at 50 and a hook. Hey there, folks. I'm Tommy Tran with Damien Harris, Bryant McFadden, and Danny Kanell to break down this top 10 matchup that went the way of the hometown team. Dame, I'm going to give you first word. What stood out to you in terms of your pregame thoughts of how you think this game would play out and how it actually played out today?
Well, it was all about the defense, and we came into this game talking about Texas Tech's defense. BYU, Bear Bachmeier, they hadn't played a defense that was this good. They hadn't played a defense to where so much capital was invested into the players that were on that defensive front, especially for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, and they just eliminated Bear Bachmeier from the game. Everything that he's done well up until this point, they eliminated him from being able to do that. I mean, he was 23 for 38, 188 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception. Those are okay numbers for a freshman quarterback, but for Bear Bachmeier, who has set the standard up here for the way that he's played, the fact that Texas Tech was able to limit that was the story of the game. Because offensively, Texas Tech didn't do much. They didn't do anything to really step on the throat of BYU, but it was the defense that was just the one constant. BYU could never get anything going on offense.
Yeah, when you look at the line, right, Vegas kind of told the story before the story was in play. The line was set at 10, and we saw line movement right before kickoff increase to 13. So they were already kind of insinuating that they felt like Texas Tech would be the better team for 4 quarters. And Texas Tech showed the odd makers out in Vegas to be true. And it was all about their defense, to Damien's point, because Baron Morton, and he just didn't have a real efficient day. They ran the football well, but it seemed like he was a bit off in terms of his passing. But the defense stood up. They delivered. They made life miserable for Bear and the entire offense. You look at their ability, Texas Tech, to rush the passer has been felt. They have the lead sack getter in college football on their team, not to mention the lead forced fumble getter as well in Jacob Rodriguez. Both players had huge say-sos in the success for Texas Tech. So they have a championship-level defense, Danny. It showed today. But moving forward, for them to get to the level they would like to get to, they need to get more from their offense.
I thought, coming into this game, the thing that was so impressive about BYU and their undefeated streak was their composure. Remember, we talked about that in the pregame show. Bear Bachmeier looked so composed, more mature than a true freshman. He looked like a true freshman tonight, and so did all of BYU. I mean, the mistakes they made in the special teams, mishandling a punt, missing a kick, and that's a credit to Texas Tech because they took them out of their game, and Lubbock was rocking. The home crowd was absolutely awesome, and it's a credit to Texas Tech's defense because they were the ones that were forcing some of those turnovers and did have Bear Bachmeier rattled throughout the game. Jacob Rodriguez is one of the best football players in the country, and he was out there, making his case for the Heisman Trophy. It's a long shot, but I think he definitely needs to get his story out there. But we also talked about the defense for Texas Tech. That was a big point of investment, how much money they had spent on the defensive line. That investment paid off dividends today.
Okay, so let me just collectively surmise what you guys are saying. Elite defense, offense still needs work if they're going to be in terms of a national champion contender. Am I right? Does that seem like it's fair to you guys?
Absolutely. And I would say not just offensively, but especially at the quarterback position. Baron Morton, he needs to play better. I mean, offensively, when you talk about complementary football, you can't hang your hat on the defense and say, just go win us the football game. They can obviously make plays that impact the game, but offense has got to pull their weight. And it starts with Baron Morton. Did not have his best day today. He can play better. If he plays better, if this offense picks up around him, you match that with the defense that they've got, and they're right up there with anybody else in the country.
So with that being said, it's interesting because I have a graphic here of the odds to win the national championship, and it might surprise you guys to see where Texas Tech is at 18-1. Interestingly enough, guys, would any of you take Texas Tech over Notre Dame, Georgia, Oregon, or Ole Miss to win the national championship? Because it seems like the respect that they're getting, or lack thereof, is because of said offense/quarterback.
I would take them over Notre Dame.
Agreed.
I would.
I think Notre Dame should probably have the same odds as Texas Tech. Like, I think it's more of overvalue.
They're a popular
of Notre
team,
Dame.
though, so maybe that's why they're getting it.
Right.
Not necessarily reflection of the team.
But every other
itself.
team, I would look at those and say, you know what, they've had an offense, or a more complete team, but even more specifically an offense which has shown an ability to take over if the defense struggles. I don't know if I've seen that from Texas Tech yet. And
Well,
their defense is really good. They might not need
right.
it. Then maybe they can win with great defense and okay quarterback play. But I think at some point they're going to need Baron Morton to step up. And he's been banged up. Like he it'd be helpful if he could get healthy, but it's hard to get healthy when you're playing games.
And it was nice to have Will Hammond the backup, but he's also hurt and not going to be available the rest of the way. Quickly, last thing, Danny, when you are offensively challenged, maybe perhaps at Texas Tech, is there anything you can do now in the short term to help fix that between now and the end of the season?
Run the football. I mean, that's how we're talking about Baron Morton's struggles. They still ran the ball fairly effectively today. That to me is what they're going to have to do, because think about it. When you're a defensive, that's your mentality, that's your reputation, that's what you're living off of. You run the football with success. Your defense gets stops. You're able to control the time of possession. You're able to keep it away from the other team. So I think the more they can run the football, the better off Texas Tech will be.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see Tuesday's ranking release and see where Texas Tech maybe gets elevated, how far BYU falls. And, of course, there's a big potential outcome of having these two teams face each other in the title game once again. But here's a look at BYU past 6 road games versus AP-ranked teams. 0 for 6, and you see that point differential. They have not defeated an AP-ranked team on the road since 2020.